What's going on, guys? This is Mars Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright guys, we're back at it once again for yet another addition to the Battle of the Uploader series. Now, this will be, I believe, volume 15 of the Battle of the Uploader series. And before I get started, I'd like to offer my thanks and show of appreciation to good old Yami Tamashi. And I am pretty sure that if you guys are as much of a Dark Souls fan as I am, then more than likely you guys will be familiar with good old Yami Tamashi. Now, shout out to Sunlight Blades. Sunlight Blades has taken his time to create a top 10, I don't want to say competition, I'll just want to say, maybe I'll just say a community-based involvement initiative. Sounds kind of fancy, doesn't it? But anyway, good old Yami Tamashi has placed very well on several of these top 10 lists. Now, in addition to that, if you were to check out his channel, he does tons of awesome work. Now, granted, he doesn't do commentaries for a lot of you commentary lovers, but despite not doing commentaries, he does a lot of fancy hotshot showcases. I mean, Yami Tamashi can do some of anything. He can do, parry into ring swap ripostes. He can do parry into ring swap and weapon switch ripostes. He does it all. Alright, so if you guys want to get a little inspiration with regard to invasions, please go ahead and check out his channel. And I'll ensure to put a link to his channel in the description box. Alright, so like I said before, thanks again Yami Tamashi for your participation in the Battle of the Uploader series. Now, it was kind of a stretch for me to ask him to participate because, seeing that on a lot of his videos, he's just seemingly doing random invasions. I didn't really know if he dueled at all, right? Now, he may duel on his own. I'm just saying based upon the videos that I've seen on his channel. I haven't really seen any duel videos, so I didn't know if he would basically duel like an invader or what. But good thing, after we got started with the matches, I noticed that he is pretty similar to myself in that he duels like a duelist and invade like an invader. Right, because despite all the fancy tricks and everything that he may know how to do during invasions, we both have the understanding that duels are a little more, as a matter of fact, they're a little less urgent. The sense of urgency is basically decreased. So whereas you're not really in the mood, you're not really in a hurry to go ahead and kill your opponent, this concentrates more on tactics than just doing whatever you can to hurry up and kill your opponent. Now, this is not to say that either of us will not try, because we're definitely putting forth an effort to kill each other. I'm just saying that the sense of urgency is different. So in other words, whereas I could Hornet ring him, there's really no sense of urgency. If he's going to beat me, he's going to beat me, right? If he's going to outplay me, he's going to outplay me. So, duels, unlike invasions, have a different sense of urgency, and you can therefore concentrate on things a little differently than what you would do during random invasions. So I am very glad that we had this experience, and I'm glad we were both like-minded with regard to doing formal or setup matches. Now, keep in mind, we didn't even have a formal conversation. I mean, I was just basically like, listen, dude, you're a good player. I'm pretty experienced. Now, I may not be as good as you, but we're both relatively experienced. So the only thing that I ask is no Hornets, and if you need a buff, go ahead and let me know in advance so that I'll know how to prepare for it. And he was like, hey, dude, hey, duels are a little more relaxed, although I will try my hardest. They're a little more relaxed, so all that fancy schmancy stuff, you don't have to worry about it with regard to a series of duels. And when he confirmed this, I was even more motivated to doing this series of matches. So for all of you Yami Tamashi fans, I'm pretty sure that you guys will hopefully enjoy yourself during these brief, what is this, 21 minutes? I think 21 minutes or so, because actually I've had a few guys say, hey dude, why don't you ask Yami Tamashi if he want to have a series, because that guy is definitely high speed. And after they told me that, I already knew it, because I've been subscribed to Yami for a while now. For a good while I've been subscribed, and every single time I notice that he has uploaded another video into his library, I am always satisfied with the contributions that he make to the community. Right, so enough about that. So let's just go ahead and talk about builds. For the most part, I think he is probably rocking a similar build to myself, which is probably a 2840. Right? Well, as a matter of fact, I would just say at the minimum a 2840, but at most a 4040 quality build. And I say that because, he pulled out the clubs, but I haven't really seen him pull out any other strength weapons other than, maybe the battle axe. But, that's kind of like a lower weight strength weapons. But, some of the heavier ones, like maybe the Black Knight Great Axe or Demon Great Machete or something similar. I didn't really notice him pulling any of those out. So I'm going to assume that this is either a 2840 or 4040 quality build. Now, with regard to strength and weaknesses, those builds are great. The strengths and weaknesses, in my personal opinion, just come with the individual player's abilities and his own limitations, right? Because you could pretty much do a wide variety of things and experiment with a wide variety of weapons with a 2840 build. As a matter of fact, the 2840 will allow you to use every single dexterity weapon, for which the Murakumo is a dexterity weapon, even though it has a high strength requirement. Right, it is a dexterity weapon. But excuse me, the only advantage that I really see, and actually that's just kind of like a personal thing, I just really prefer the 4040 over the 2840 because I'm able to use more of the strength weapons. Right, but it's all in personal taste, because whereas with the 2840 I can carry more weight and more items because I have more endurance, the 4040 I like because it basically gives me the maximum attack rating with regard to all of the weapons that I use. Right, and that's both one-handed and two-handed. For example, and this is basically just a review for a lot of the guys that may be kind of relatively newer to Dark Souls and you don't necessarily have an understanding as to what the difference is. For a lot of these quality weapons, let's just say the Zweihander. Now, if you guys will notice, if you're running a strictly strength build, and let's just say you only make an investment in strength, you won't really get a high attack rating unless you also increase your dexterity stat. Right? So one of the benefits, and as a matter of fact, I think with a 4040 build, the maximum attack rating for a Zweihander, I believe, is like 611. Right? Now, let's just say with my strength build. My strength build, I rock a 5018. And with the 5018, I think my Zweihander, even two-handed, only hits for like, well, not hit for, the AR is like 573. But for my 2840 quality build, the AR is actually like 611, which is the exact same, or pretty much the exact same attack rating as what you would have with a 4040. Alright, so that's just kind of one of the little things with regard to Dark Souls. So, if you want to be able to use a wide variety of weapons and get the maximum benefit while two-handing, the 2840 is a good option. Now, if you just want to get the maximum benefit, period, I would just basically suggest the 4040. Unfortunately, I have an Xbox, and I only have 2 builds on Xbox, and actually, this is not even a 125. This build is a 127 that I made like way back in When did I get this Xbox? Like right after Christmas of 2012. So I over leveled it by 2. So basically, this is my 2840 is a soul level 127. But as you guys already know, most of my primary builds are all on the PS3. Right, and my PS3 variation is a 125 and is basically a 45, 57, 28, and 40. That's what I use for my dexterity build, my primary dexterity build. Alright, so enough about that. So like I said before, there's really no strengths and weaknesses with regard to either a quality or full dexterity build other than those limitations brought upon by the individual player, right? Because the advantage is you get to use a wide variety of weapons. Now granted, if you are one-handing them, they might not be as strong. Case in point, let's just say you use a large club, right? And that's a perfect example. Now if you one-hand it, it won't really be that strong, because since you only have 28 in strength, I mean, that's basically like the minimum requirements. Whereas if you two-hand it on a 2840, you will basically get the same attack rating as what you would have if you had 40 strength. So like I said before, that's one of the benefits to having a 2840 build. You can use some of the strength weapons and all of the dexterity weapons. And when I say strength weapons, I'm basically talking primarily the large and great club and some of the lower weighted axes, right? Like probably like the battle axe, the hand axe, you know, gargoyle tail axe, and similar weapons. Alright, so enough about that. And actually, I don't really need to go too much further into that, because I think we're both rocking similar builds for the most part. Right? I mean, my build has under 40 poise. As a matter of fact, I think I have like 38. And when I use the gargoyle variation, I think that particular armor set only has like 33. So we both rock low poise. And you know, with that lower poise, we don't need a darkwood grain ring, right? Because me personally, I don't know about his personal preference, but me personally, I just prefer the fast roll, because you know, it kind of keeps me in tune, keeps me in check. Right, because whenever I use the darkwood grain ring, I mean, honestly, I don't know about anyone else, and you know, even if they won't admit it, I know it personally. You know, I always get false confidence whenever I use the darkwood grain ring, because basically I'm able to just skip out of every single attack. Right, so one of the reasons why I really prefer the fast roll is because I don't have to rely on poise, right? Which is why I usually go under 40 in poise. And number two, it kind of keeps me on my feet. Right, I'm not relying on the iframes that come with the darkwood grain ring. And then number two, it keeps me on my toes, because you know, I can still get staggered with a lot of weapons, namely great swords, ultra great swords, and some of the other heavier and stronger attacking weapons. Alright, so enough about that. Now, I have some good news for a lot of you guys. And actually, I've had a lot of guys say, hey, why don't you get Peeve in here for the Battle of the Uploaders? Well, actually, I was able to catch up with Peeve, and he's going to be yet another participant in the Battle of the Uploaders series really soon. So I'll say within the next few weeks I'll have him on here, because, you know, he kind of shot me a message. I replied. We continued to exchange correspondence. And he's like, hey, cool. You know, whenever we can go ahead and agree to a time, I'll be glad to do it. So for a lot of you guys that have been asking me for the longest to get Peeve on here, you guys should be seeing that series between myself and Peeve sometime soon. Right, so thanks in advance to good old P for your future participation in the series as well. Now, you know, after I get Peeve, you know, there's a guy, and matter of fact, I think good old Mind's Eye, he's probably in retirement. You know, we've gone back and forth about featuring him in the video a number of times, but you know, I think he's like in school, his schedule is busy, and you know, he's kind of on this new thing into I don't know what that first person shooter is. So, you know, if I don't get him in the current generation game, I'll definitely get him for Dark Souls 2. Right, because I know it'll kind of spark a new inspiration for him to involve himself in PvP, kind of like how he did when this game was first released. All right, so enough about that. Now, for some of you other guys who have made requests, keep in mind, you know, that I don't want you guys to think that I'm necessarily biased, but actually I can't even say that I'm not biased, because I am. The thing is, you know, if you're just starting out to uploading, you know, like let's just say, for the sake of argument, you have like 3 videos, I'm probably going to be a little less inclined to do a battle of the uploader series, right? Because a lot of the people who I have done this type of series with have all been contributors to the community, and basically they've been rather dedicated. As a matter of fact, I think one of the only guys that is really dedicated to this franchise who I have not been able to battle against was, let me see, who was that? Oh, Sunlight Blades. I think he's probably one of the only. Now, I am not saying that, you know, if I didn't feature you on the uploader series, then therefore you're not dedicated. Because I know some of you guys look for any kind of thing to start finger jamming that keyboard and say, hey, I mean, you know, what about Yuka's Legion? I mean, what about Cash? I mean, what about all these other guys, Brigade? You know, I know a lot of you guys love saying stuff like that, so I'm not saying that just because you weren't featured, then therefore you're not making contributions. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is, you know, for a lot of the people that I showcase on this video, you know, it's people who I know who have been making contributions for a while, and they're pretty dedicated to the franchise, right? So if you're kind of brand new, right, the only thing that I would ask is perhaps get a little more experience, you know, and maybe upload a little more, right? And then maybe with a little more time and experience, we can go ahead and get you featured on here. Now, another thing, I've actually received a few correspondence from some of my, I don't even know what to call them, right? I'll just say players from other regions, right? I've received correspondence from some German players, Swedish players, and a number of other players. So now I know there is kind of like a communication thing going on, but you know, despite that, you know, I have checked out some of you guys' channels, and I will return with a reply to a lot of you guys' correspondence, because hey, anyone who loves this game as much as I do, or even more, I'll be willing to go ahead and share any experiences, not only for myself, but also for other viewers. Because like I said before, I love the franchise, I love the game, and any exposure that I could give to some people who, you know, maybe put forth a lot of good information out there, but perhaps they're new, maybe they're not necessarily known, hey, I would love to feature them. I would love to showcase them. Case in point, there's this one commentator, and you know, I hate that I forget his name right now, but as a matter of fact, I think the guy's name is something like Polly Going Off, or Polly something going off something. I think it's Polly Going Off. As a matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll look up his channel and I'll put a link to it in the description box. Now, here's one example of a guy that is relatively new. As a matter of fact, I think he only has like 13 videos. But his commentaries, man, I'm going way off. His commentaries are so cool that I actually listen to him quite often. Now, granted, like I said before, he's relatively new, but it's just one example of what I mean with regard to, you know, there's a lot of guys out there that, you know, they're kind of new, kind of starting off, but they really make some good contributions to the community. So as a matter of fact, you know, if you're listening, shout out to good old Polly Going Off, and I think that's his name. I don't really have the link to his channel or, you know, a video in front of me so I can get the name right, but I'll just go ahead and put a link to his channel in the description box, so you guys can go ahead and check it out for yourself. So enough about all these rants that I've done over these last 20 plus minutes. Once again, I'd like to offer my thanks and great show of appreciation to good old Yami Tamashi. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description box, and for a lot of you guys, like I said before, stay tuned to the channel. I will have Beeve in here one of these other days, and anyone else, go ahead, shoot me a message, and hopefully we can go ahead and coordinate something. So hey, until next time, Martyrs Brigade.